Mushroom soup. You either like it or you don't. I like it. Never tried making it, but how about we do now? You'll never guess what the first ingredient is. You got it, mushrooms. Now you can do different varieties. I only had the one big container, and the recipe called for almost 2 pounds of mushrooms, which seemed like a lot. The big container I had was about £1.5-ish, which seemed like plenty. So I chopped them up rough, and I thought about cooking them 2 different ways. So the first batch we're going to put in the oven and we're going to roast them. Just out of curiosity to see if that makes a difference taste-wise. So here's our first batch. Fresh off the cutting board, we're going to put it in a pie tin because I didn't cut a ton of them. There was enough. So we'll set that aside. I'm going to finish chopping up the rest of the mushrooms while I'm waiting for the oven to heat up. Now I did a real rough chop with this, figuring that they were going to reduce, which they do. So if you like chunky soup, this worked out great. If you like, thinner pieces, you might want to cut the mushrooms a little thin. You might enjoy it better that way. So with our first batch of mushrooms ready to go, we're going to drizzle some olive oil on them. And that is going in the oven about 15-20 minutes. Now we're going to cut up some onions. I got probably 1.5 cups worth of onions. There is about 1 cup-ish, and I chopped a little extra. That's going to go in our mushrooms out of the oven, which I've just pulled out. You can see how they're reducing. I'm making sure they're not all stuck to the bottom of the pan. We're going to put in some spices while we're at it, some garlic powder, some pepper, of course, and just because it came out of the cupboard along with the other spices, a little bit of basil. So we'll give that a little mix, and let's put our onions in. So yeah, that's about 1/4 cup of onions or so, and that'll go back in the oven once we give her a mix around. And we'll let that finish off for another 5-10 minutes. Into our soup pot is going to go a couple tablespoons of butter with a hit of oil. Let that melt down. And then our cup-ish of onions, that's going to go in first, and we'll mix that all around and let that start cooking down. So you can see it's starting to change colors and loosen up. So it's time to add our mushrooms, the rest of the mushrooms that we had cut up earlier. And we're going to let all that cook down for a few minutes. Make sure to stir it every once in a while so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. Our mushrooms have come out of the oven, and of course let's throw them into the pot too, because that's why we did it. And we'll let that all combine and start to look really good. So as it's cooking down, you want to just give it a stir every once in a while. So now what we're doing is we're going to put some chicken broth in. I've got about 2 cups. So I put just a little bit in just to keep the bottom from sticking. Now to that we're going to add some flour. And we're going to keep the heat on and keep stirring it together and let it kind of mush together a little bit at a time. You know, you don't want to dump the whole thing in at once. Of course I did anyway, which I shouldn't have, because you can see how much more difficult it is to combine everything. I could have added a little bit of stock, which, you know, I waited until I ended up just throwing in all the stock too. So that's 2 cups of chicken broth, along with the flour, the mushrooms, and the onions. Well, of course, we've got 2 more cups of chicken broth to go in now that it's all combined. And it's starting to look like a soup, I think. You can see on my spatula how the flour, because I didn't do it quite properly, kind of stuck on the spatula. So you do have to take your time. I know, especially when you're hungry, it's like, let's get this done, but all in good time. Now I've taken the soup off the element, turned her down, and now I'm adding some cream. 1 cup of cream, because how do you get cream mushroom soup without cream? Well, the real stuff, you really need cream. I guess you could use milk too if that's all you got. So we're going to combine it all together, and then we're going to bring it up to a simmer, put the lid on it, and let it sit. But you know what? 5 minutes later, there we go. Some beautiful cream of mushroom soup. If you got this far, I really hope you'll give this a try. It tasted fantastic. Yummy, homemade cream of mushroom soup. Well, I hope that made you hungry, and I hope that's something you're going to try. Listen, if you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, a like below. And if I haven't talked you into it yet, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That'll tell you the next time I upload a video. And I really hope you enjoyed this. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye.